Hello, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you to the meeting of the Staffing Matters and Urgency Committee. The first agenda item is the declarations of interest, as all of us are here, so there are no apologies or substitutes to record today. Declarations of interest, I'll just give a couple of seconds in case anybody has any additional declarations. If not, none to declare today. That then takes us straight through to agenda item 2, which is the exclusion of the press and public. So annexes A and B to agenda item 8 and annex A to agenda item 9 contain information relating to individuals and the financial affairs of particular persons, and therefore that information is classified as exempt under certain sections of the Local Government Act 1972. So I just want to check with colleagues that when we get to agenda items 8 and 9, at that point, we'd exclude the press and the public to consider them. I can see nods around the table, so thank you very much for that. So that's agreed. Agenda item 3 is the minutes of the previous meeting that can be found on pages 3 to 8. If colleagues could confirm that we're there, that is a correct record of the meeting, I'll then sign them off again. I can see nods, so thank you very much for that. That then takes us to agenda item 4, which is the public participation. We don't have any registered public participants today, which means we'll go straight on to agenda item 5, appointment of a managing director of Make It York, and Charlie is dialing into the meeting to present this paper. So hopefully you can hear me, Charlie, and over to you. You will be with us soon, I am told.
Hi, Charlie, it's Richard Jackson here. If you could just unmute yourself, please.
Hello?
Hi, Charlie, we can hear you.
Great. Appointment of directors to Make It York are a matter reserved to the shareholder, i.e. to City of York Council, and the decision to appoint directors is in the remit of this committee. The managing director of Make It York is, by virtue of their appointment, also intended to be a director. The situation then is that the new managing director has been selected by the board of Make It York and appointed to that role as a member of staff. However, for the managing director to become a director, and that aspect of their appointment requires a decision of this committee. So the report before you confirms the details of the individual appointed by Make It York and invites you as the representative of the shareholder to appoint the individual also to the board of Make It York formally. So that's the essence of the purpose of this report before you today. I think that's all I need to say at this point, Chair.
Thank you very much, Charlie. So I'll open this report in case there are any questions or comments. Councillor Kilbane.
No, thanks, Chair. Clearly, this is a big decision, especially given our experience with Make It York over the past few years, that I think is fair to say has not been all sunshine and light. When looking through the process, looking through the job descriptions, if you like, the criteria, I'm struggling to see anything in there that stands out that would address some of the fundamental problems that we had with Make It York in its previous iteration. I'm thinking in particular of the difficulties we experienced with small traders, local market stall holders, etc. I would have liked to have seen something in the job description that would specifically address that issue, not least because I hear that there is, again, conflict between Make It York and the buskers in the city, with Make It York adopting a very high-handed approach to people who are making their living entertaining tourists and locals on the streets of the city. So I'm not really seeing anything in this sort of job description that would make me think, okay, that's been addressed in this process, and we're going to make sure that those same mistakes aren't made again, where there is a failure to engage with local people, small independent businesses who are making their who make such a big mark on the city. All I can see is reference to various stakeholders, and I don't think that is specific enough, especially because red flags are already being raised about Make It York with me at the moment. And the other point I would like to make is from the applicant's resume, is there anything in there, and Charlie may be able to answer this question, is there anything in there that addresses their experience of or interest in the culture sector?
Thank you very much. I'll bring you back in, Charlie. It might be that the paper in front of us is a formal part of the process to agree the appointment of a director. It's obviously not to do with the service level agreement or indeed the initial recruitment process, but I'm sure there'll be other information that could be signposted, but you would know, Charlie, more than me where that is. If you can come off mute.
Sorry. I think it's important to stress this paper is not asking the committee to make the staffing appointment. That has been made by the board of Make It York. They did consult a number of us in the council about the job description, however, and the points that Councillor Kilbane makes are, of course, extremely important, and addressing the relationship between Make It York and the external world has been, I think, a major consideration throughout the process. I think we should also stress that it is very much a partnership issue. And the example that Councillor Kilbane gives about buskers is a very good one. That is very much a partnership approach between the council's enforcement team, who have led on the drawing up of the latest busker guidelines, and Make It York, and the busker community. And I think it is really important to stress too, that in the revision of the contract process, we have put in more robust and refreshed arrangements for client meetings, for communication between the council and Make It York about our expectations on the company and the managing director, about those external relationships. And for me, I think central to that client process is going to be helping Make It York and working with Make It York to maintain really positive relations with those key external stakeholders. And absolutely understanding that the small businesses, the city centre businesses and local residents are key stakeholders in a way that perhaps hasn't been recognised in the past. So absolutely take those points, and certainly through the client process, we'll commit to working with the new managing director to help her establish really positive relationships with those key stakeholder groups.
Thank you very much, Charlie. I think the telephone line is just about holding up between here and Poppleton, and we're getting most of what you're saying. Just to further check with colleagues whether there are any further questions or comments. If not, we have the recommendation in front of us, which is at paragraph 2, which is that we appoint Sarah Loftus as a director of Make It York in order that she can fulfil the role that she's been appointed to as managing director. So if I could see from colleagues a nod or a hand whether we are happy with that. So Councillor Kilbane, just to check whether that's... I'll abstain on Abstain. Great. So that's a majority in favour of that recommendation and 1 abstention. So that then takes us on, and thank you, Charlie. That then takes us on to agenda item 6, which is the work plan in front of us. And I'll ask Claire just to briefly introduce this.
I think I've never done this before. Forget to unmute and then we forget to press the button. So you'll see in front of you the HR work plan that we bring to you on a regular basis, and the what's been brought to you so far this year, and our next workforce information will be coming towards this group in December of this year, which will cover the workforce demographics, including all of our attendance management information. We'll also be bringing either the first or second time this year the information on settlement agreements to you that's all come through the system, and that's not been with you for a while. So that's our next significant update for you due next month.
Thank you very much. So committee's asked to note the work plan, but again, I'll just check if any colleagues have any questions. I can see some nods that people are happy to do so. So we'll note the work plan. Thank you very much. Agenda item 7 is urgent business. I've not been informed that we have any. I'll just look to Robert. So no urgent business, in which case, given that we agreed earlier the exclusion of the press and the public, will close the public part of this meeting now and then move on to the future agenda items. So thank you to those that have been watching along.